Hey everybody, it's Mom of Two, Wife of One, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please take the time to hit the bell that's right down there, click the notification bell, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my videos. As you can tell, and those who are coming back for the second, third, or 100th time, hi, welcome back. Thanks for coming back to talk to me. I appreciate it. But as you can see from the title of this video, we are here to talk about Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 5, I believe. And it is called Everything Will Be Okay. Very stupid and corny, but that's neither here nor there. So in this episode, 4 of the couples are still on their honeymoon. It's about day 3 or 4 of marriage, while the last couple, Morgan and Ben, finally, got married last week, and it's them having their wedding day. And I will say it was a little jarring because I forgot that the wedding had been delayed, even though I talked about it last week. It was a little weird to go from them on their honeymoon and everybody's hugged up and kissing and all that stuff to, oh, that's right, it's the wedding and we're meeting the family for the first time. So it was a little weird to kind of go back and forth like that, but it's still fine. So I'm going to talk about Ben and Morgan first because they are the newest couple who are now officially married. And I will say that I think they look really cute together. They're really giddy and silly and seem to really be getting along. They're very attracted to each other, which obviously helps. Ben seems very sweet, but his mind is definitely on sex. He was like, I am the bowl of condoms in their honeymoon suite very hard. And I was like, okay. And also, again, we talked about this last week, how everyone on her side of the family and his side of the family, when they were asking the questions of, the couple, everyone was asking about, oh, what's going to happen on the honeymoon? Are you guys going to have sex? And are you having sex tonight? And, oh, what about kids? And it's like, I understand you wanting to know that stuff because obviously this is a stranger. You want to know their intentions or whatever, but I also feel like they haven't had time to have that conversation themselves. And my stance on children, that's a really big question to talk to someone about that you're married to, right? I feel like that conversation should happen first between the two of us. And then if collectively we decide to share that information with others, then we can share the information with others and it's fine. But I don't think it's fair to get the information, to give that information to somebody else first. Because at the end of the day, even though all these people love you and they support you and they're there for you and whatnot, when it comes to actually having that conversation or even actually having the children, it's going to be just you and your spouse dealing with it primarily. So I always feel kind of weird about that kind of talk. But again, neither here nor there. And I think it is interesting that her friend said that Morgan didn't really want kids. And I don't think that she doesn't want kids. I think she's young. She's 27. So she's probably like, well, I got a whole life to live. There's so many things I want to do, which makes sense when you're 27 years old. It's like, of course I want to see the world. Of course I want to travel. Of course I want to get to know my husband a little bit better before we talk about kids. And it's one thing to say, I don't want kids when you have not met that person, when you're not currently in love, and again, when you're in your 20s. Now, some people have kids in their 20s. There's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of people now, as they get older, they're like, okay, well, I kind of want to wait a little bit. And again, they're 27 and, he's 30 now, but at the wedding, they're 27 and 29. Y'all don't have to have kids right away. There's not a big rush to do that. Like, relax. Get in your 30s. Get to know each other a little better. Give it a few years at least, or a couple years at least. So I don't think that's necessarily a big concern. I was a little disappointed that I know they're rushing everything with them because they had to delay their honeymoon, but I didn't think it was kind of weird that we didn't even get a first dance with them. They went straight from the wedding to taking pictures to, okay, we're going to talk to each other's parents about how you feel about this and how you feel about this and, what can you tell me, blah, blah, blah. And we didn't even get a lot of that conversation either. But yeah, we didn't get a first dance. We didn't really get to hear a lot of their own personal one-on-one conversation at the actual wedding. So everything really was kind of chopped up and like cut off. So it was like, let's hurry up, get them married and hurry up and get them to Puerto Vallarta to join the other couples. She thinks that he's very driven and he's warm and he's nice. And I did think it was interesting because they got married the day before his 30th birthday. So on his actual birthday, the next day, he said, we haven't had sex. We didn't have sex the wedding night. We thought about it, but we're just kind of chilling. We're relaxing. She brought him like these cookies and cream cupcakes in bed with little 30 candles, just cute. And he did say, he's like, she's open to giving me some on my birthday. I won't turn down gifts. Spoken like a typical man. Like, really? But, whatever. They do seem giddy. One thing I did know, they seem really giddy and excited, but at least on camera, they weren't like overly physical. There wasn't a ton of hand holding or kissing really. It was just more of like just, kind of looking at each other and talking, but being kind of silly and serious, when they need to be serious, but just like a camaraderie and like, oh, we're getting along. But at least personally, especially the wedding night, didn't see really kissing, hugging, touching, any of that stuff. On the honeymoon was a little different. All the couples were either holding hands or had their arms wrapped around each other's waist or around their shoulders. So every single couple was doing that. And that's something that I did note because that almost never happens. Normally, there's at least one couple where you can clearly see space between them where it's like, oh, okay, they're still filling each other out. While the rest of us are, oh my gosh, you're so great, blah, blah, blah. There's always at least one or two couples that will have space between them on the couch, or maybe they're sitting on the same thing, but there's still like visible space between them and there's no touching at all. But that wasn't the case, which is really interesting and very different for the show. And yeah, I mean, so nothing really happened with them. Like, they were cute. I thought they were really cute, but nothing really happened. Looks like next week is going to be, unfortunately, some drama between them. But that was pretty much it for Ben and Morgan. They got married and they're on their honeymoon, so now they get to be with the other couples. They're really happy to be with the other couples, which is cool. Morgan did say something interesting, though. When she was talking with the girls, she said that, Ben is just all over me. He keeps, like, any chance he gets, he's like just trying to lay on me or touch me or be on top of me. And it's like, oh, we haven't really seen that. So I guess all this is happening off camera. If that's the case, then I think it's a little strange. It's like, it's been 2 days, right? Hadn't it just been 2 days for you guys? Like, how is he all over you, like, all the time? It's literally been 2 days. So I thought it was kind of not a weird thing for her to say. I think it's interesting that we haven't seen that on camera. And I think maybe he's been intentionally not putting that on camera. So unfortunately, that could mean that he's putting on one persona for the cameras, I guess knowing his mother's going to see it, and then completely different person when the cameras go away. And we have seen that in the past. Don't know if that's going to happen with them. Hopefully it doesn't, because I like Ben. I think he's really sweet. He seems like a really sweet kid, and he's really cute. Beautiful smile. Body is banging. And Morgan's pretty, has a nice body too. So it's like, okay. And they seem, again, I like them together. I think they're really cute together. So hopefully whatever happens next week won't be like a huge thing and won't be a deal breaker. But we shall see. Okay, we're going to go to Stasha and Nate. They showered together, which was really hot and heavy last week, but they did not have sex because she doesn't want sex to be meaningless. And he's determined, like, oh, well, he's not determined, but he's hopeful that sex will happen on the honeymoon. I think it could definitely happen for them. I think that every time we see them, they seem to be getting closer. I like that neither of them really shies from tough conversations. And they understand that we're having intentional conversations. It's about getting stuff out in the open now so that there are no misconstrued things later on. We understand what's happening. We don't have to guess. There are no, wrong assumptions being made. So she brought up the conversation about them having a post-nup, which is something she talked about before she was even matched. So like, I'm going to ask for a post-nup, and that's definitely a deal breaker for me because I have to protect my assets. And because, and I said this before, I think only because he's in the field of business and money like she is. If he wasn't, I think he would have an issue with it. But because he's in that field as well, he was like, you know what? Okay, that makes sense. And if that makes you comfortable, that's fine. And so I'm glad that didn't turn to a bigger deal than it possibly could have been. And not that I know much about post-nups and prenups, but I imagine that as time goes on, you can make changes here and there to it, depending on how your circumstance changes. But I like that wasn't an issue, because obviously it could have been. They went ATV riding, which was the first time they both did it, which was cute. He stopped to take pictures several times and like went on social media. He was behind her while she kept going. And she's like, this is kind of a test to see if he's going to, ride beside me and he's going to watch my back. Is he going to make sure I'm doing okay? So of course, because she said that, they played it up with the editors, like purposely zooming in on him, leaving her behind, and zooming in on him, like with the camera, and her getting obviously frustrated and flustered. And, I talked to someone about reality shows and if they're scripted, and I still believe they're not scripted to the point where the character comes on set and you get a whole list of what your lines are, but they're scripted in the sense that sometimes you're put in situations that they know is going to result in a specific reaction. And I think because she said this, they focus on a lot of things that maybe they wouldn't have focused on. Like, they made it seem during this whole ATV ride that oops, sorry, I think I turned my phone off, guys. I apologizes. But I feel like they focused on her saying that, right? And the ATV ride, I'm sure, was a nice long ride, at least like, 1 or 2 hours, I'm sure, right? But I think that they focused on him constantly stopping and constantly talking to the camera like, yeah, we in the jungle, I don't know what's gonna happen, blah, blah. And the thing is, he's young. Nate is what, 34? He's a millennial. This is what millennials do. We're on social media. I'm doing a video now on YouTube because I'm a millennial. This is what we do. We talk to people. We like to tell people what's going on in our lives. And with her being 37, she's a millennial as well. So I feel like she would be more understanding of that. But I do understand her take on it as well. But I do think that they definitely hyped it up a little more for the cameras and just for our sake. So I don't think it was that big of a deal, but I like that she said something about it first. And she didn't say it was a red flag. She was very clear and said, I see some yellow flags. So something that could possibly be an issue, but may not be an issue. So she's just kind of being observant. And this is the time to do that, right? It's the 3rd day of marriage. This is the time to kind of see what's going on, feel around, and see if anything feels a little bit off and address things right away. So that's another thing, again, I said I like about both of them. I feel like they both are really good at asking the right questions and just not being afraid to put things out in the open and not being afraid to get really deep and honest with each other. And I really appreciate that. And I think they both still look really cute together. And again, nothing has been said just yet that's made me like kind of question either one of them, except for the fact they talked about kids. She says she wants kids in a year. He wants to wait 2 or 3 years. And he's like, with the right person. She's like, what do you mean? We're married. And again, I think this is a little dangerous sometimes if you put people on the show who are of a certain age. She's 3 years older than him, which in hindsight is not a big deal. But when you are someone who would like to have a child, there is a window there for women, obviously. And obviously, the older you get, the more complicated your pregnancy could potentially be. Because at a certain age, it's considered, I forgot the terminology. It's a certain kind of pregnancy they basically call you like elderly if you're over the age of 35 is considered a high risk pregnancy because you're older. And so obviously that's in the forefront of her mind. She's probably ready to kind of crank out babies right now. But I understand where he's coming from as well. Like, I think it's like, we just got married. Like, let's get to know each other. Let's take our time. And maybe that timeline can be negotiated a little down the road. But I think the main thing is that they both want kids. As long as you both have that in common, then you can kind of negotiate everything else. So I think, they're still cute. I think they'll be fine. But, not a lot happened with them. Just a couple conversations here and there. Oh, all the other ones really had a lot that I want to kind of unpack. I'm gonna do Lindy and Miguel. I'll say this. I think Miguel is pushing sex way too hard on Lindy. And basically, like, sex is just an expression and I want to express myself. And basically, in his mind, sex is the next step. We need to get closer. This is how we get closer. For her, sex is special. I don't want to have sex with you until I'm completely comfortable with you. I tend to kind of follow Lindy's lead a little bit more on this and kind of agree with her a little bit more. The way Miguel is phrasing it, and maybe that's what bothers me. Because sex is a form of expression. I do agree with that. Sex is a part of intimacy. I agree with that as well. But he's almost making it seem like without that sex, we're not going to get to a place of being closer. We're not going to get to a place of being really intimate with each other. It's been 3 days, brother. 3 days. And the fact that I feel like, and again, could be the editors who were, filming a certain way. It seems like he's constantly bringing it up. It's like, again, it's been 3 days. And he's like, I've tried stuff. And she's been respectful, like, respectfully rejecting me. And it's like, why are you pushing her? And for someone who, was part of a religion, or at least, I don't want to say all religions, but she was Seventh-day Adventist. And I guess the way she grew up, she felt that pressure to act a certain way, to be a certain way, to do a certain thing in a certain order and all that stuff. So coming from an environment where she had that pressure and she finally had the courage to break out and like basically make her own rules and do her own thing, to put her back in a situation where she's feeling pressure from somebody that she's supposed to kind of care about and who's supposed to kind of like be the head of the household, I guess. It's like, why? Why are you doing that to her? So I don't know how red that flag is for me just yet. I don't think Miguel's necessarily a bad person, but at least the way it came off, he was pushing it really hard and didn't seem to really take into account the things she was saying. And again, we're just kind of viewing sex as, okay, this is the next thing. We got to do this. It's like, okay, she has never said, we are never going to have sex with each other. She's never said, I don't want to be intimate with you. She's saying, I want to continue to get to know you so I can become comfortable with you so that when we have sex, it's going to be amazing. And again, I think that's valid considering it's been 3 days. If you act like this woman has been dating you for a year, she's been holding out for a year, and oh my gosh, why haven't we had sex yet? 3 days. Three Diaz. Well, I don't understand the urgency here. And so that kind of bothers me a little bit. And then they had a conversation when they talked about love. Lindy was like, to me, love is a choice. You choose to love somebody, you choose to be with them, you choose to put them first, to make them priority. That is a choice. His thing is that there's a potential for a spark, and basically the potential is there, love will happen, but he's saying he can't choose to fall in love with her. It's something that just has to happen. And I don't know if I agree or disagree. I feel like maybe love isn't the right word. I think you can choose to open yourself to the idea of loving a person. And for a lot of the people on the show, you're choosing to get married. But once you get with that person, and if that person doesn't look the way you want them to look or doesn't act the way you thought they would act, you can choose to continue to find the good in them. Choose to figure out why you were paired with that person. Choose to open yourself up to really receiving what this could possibly be, and what that could possibly be can turn into love. So maybe it's the idea of her specifically using the word love. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I don't know if I agree with him or her. I'm not sure. I think a lot of this experiment, especially just in relationships, it is about choice. And it is about what you plan to bring to the table, what you're willing to put up with, how you're willing to react to certain situations. So I think all of that is a choice. Right now, I feel like she is choosing to see the best in the situation, see the best in him, and she's choosing to allow herself to open up to him and allow herself to be open to inviting him into her heart and learning more about him and really taking advantage of this whole experiment. Because for her, obviously it's not an experiment. For her, it's marriage. I'm ready to be married. I'm ready to open myself up to my husband and be the kind of wife you need and all that stuff. And I'm not saying he's not open at all. But again, the fact that he's pushing, I feel like he's being pushy with some of the things that he's saying and doing. And it's just making me a little concerned. So again, I will say it's kind of a yellow flag. They did have a cute moment where she talked to him about his childhood. She was just curious about how he grew up. She's like, "Oh, won't you be comfortable telling me anything? If you're not comfortable telling me yet, that's okay. But I would love to know more about you. I'd love to know how you grew up." And he talked about how his parents divorced when he was 10. And he moved from, I think maybe it was Florida, moved from somewhere, and basically grew up in Puerto Rico from the time he was 10 on. And how he felt like an outcast because he couldn't speak Spanish. And it dealt, it had to, brought up some identity issues, and, not feeling worthy, probably not feeling like you really fit in. And he admitted that his mom had schizophrenia and basically left the family. But the way he talks about her, he has empathy for and sympathy for, as opposed to like anger. And Lindy really admired that. She's like, I think that's so great that you look at it that way. And she's like, I feel closer to you. So like whenever we have these conversations, I feel a lot closer to you. And it's like, oh, okay, this is really sweet. And so, yeah, I mean, I think they're okay. But obviously next week looks like everybody has drama because that's normally how it works. The honeymoon is when not claws come out, but it's when conversations start getting a little more real. But I also think, like, I praise Stasha and Nate for bringing up certain subjects and talking about them right away. I feel like some stuff is a little too early to tell. So some conversations, some questions are like, why are you asking me this now? Like, why don't you just wait? The whole thing about sex, just leave it alone for now. Especially if she's already told you out of the way so I'm comfortable, then don't bring it up again. Like, don't make it seem like, okay, well, if we don't have sex, then that's going to be an issue. No, we don't need to. It's been 3 days, brother. We still have, it's an 8-week experiment. So we still have, 7 weeks and like 4 days. Like, why don't we just enjoy the next few weeks and just see where we are when decision day comes? So I don't know. I got my eye on Miguel. I got my eye on him. But I just wasn't feeling him last night. Now, the other two couples, I'm definitely going to save Kristen and Mitch for last because I have a lot to say. But Alexis and Justin, I don't understand why Alexis feels the need to tell everybody that Justin is celibate. Why is that important? Why is it everybody's business? Why do you always have to be the one to say it? It's technically his business, and why do you feel the need to tell everybody his business when he's not broadcasting it to everybody else? So why are you broadcasting it to everybody? I don't understand that. I don't know if it's because she's so bewildered by the fact that he's celibate, if she's still like doesn't believe that he's celibate. I don't know what it is, but it bothers me that she always brings it up. Every episode has come up, and it's like, but it's never him saying it. It's always her. Always her. Like, girl, relax. Okay, we all know it now. You don't got to tell everybody, don't need to know. How they going to benefit from knowing? But neither here nor there. So they went horseback riding in the ocean, and she admitted to herself, and probably to him, that she feels like she's kind of losing control. Everything is happening really fast. It's a whirlwind. She really, really likes this guy, but she's never comfortable being vulnerable. And she, made a good point. She said, when you open yourself up to being vulnerable and open yourself up for someone to make you happy, that person now has the control to also make you sad. And I wrote a blog about this actually not too long ago called Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? Because the people who love you the most have the power to hurt you the most. They don't always exercise that power, but sometimes they may say something or do something with, in anger or not really thinking about it. And because it's them, because that's the person you hold in really high regard, they're one of your VIPs, is my best friend and I like to say VIPs, they're one of your VIPs. If they're one of your VIPs, obviously something that they say or do is going to carry more weight than somebody you don't even know. So I understand where she's coming from. It is a very vulnerable position to be in, but not opening yourself up to any of it. Like, I'd rather open myself up to both happiness and sadness as opposed to closing myself off from anything. So she is starting to open up a little bit to him because he's sensitive and emotional, and he's not afraid to tell her, you're like a dream come true. You're wonderful. Everything's been perfect. I do think that Justin is laying it on way too thick. And I'm not saying that he's being dishonest at all either, but it's a lot. Again, everyone keeps forgetting. It's been 3 days. It's been 5 weeks for us now, literally over a month that we've been dealing with these people. But it's only been 3 days for them of being married. And I just feel like it's just too much, too fast. So and for her to be someone who it takes her a while to even get to that point of showing her emotions, talking about her emotions. If you know that that's your wife, again, it's only been 3 days, but from having conversations with her, that talking about emotions too much makes her a little uncomfortable. So I feel like if you know that about your wife, you need to ease into it. Not do too much too fast, not make her uncomfortable, not put her on the spot, but just kind of go at her pace. Gradually just say, I'm really having a good time with you. Gradually say, oh, this is really cool. I'm really enjoying you. I enjoy this side of you. I love laughing with you. It could just be small comments here and there. It doesn't have to be like, you're just so special. You're just so wonderful. Like, I can't believe I'm just so blessed. Like, I can't stop smiling because this and this. And then they had dinner, and he tells her that he loves her. He's in love with her. I know they say love at first sight isn't a thing, but yeah, I fell in love with you at first sight. And I am not one of those people that believes in love at first sight. I'm not. I believe love needs a chance to grow and flourish. It comes with knowing somebody. It comes with not just knowing them, but also allowing them to know you. Knowing the good and the bad, right? When you know the good and the bad of a person, and yet you still want to be around them, and you see that there is more good than bad, that's how you love a person, by seeing their whole self. He keeps saying how things have been perfect. That means you have not seen the bad just yet. You have not, had the arguments or had the major attitude from her or had a disagreement yet. So you can't possibly say, I love you, I'm in love with you, when you've only seen this. As some people say, when you go on the first date, the person is not getting you, they're getting your representative. You're technically getting, I think, Alexis's representative. It's been 3 days. So you're getting the newlywed version of Alexis, the person that was so excited to get married, that she's finally here. She's in paradise with you. You're only going to get the good side right now anyway. You have to wait until you guys get home, until you merge your lives together, until you guys are faced with some stuff. And then you can say, oh, wow, I really love this person and all of their flaws. You don't know her flaws yet. You really don't. So I know if I'm frustrated with him saying that to her, she's probably a little frustrated and confused. And She says that she seems like she believes him when he says that he's in love with her. He says he feels like she loves him based off of how she looks at him and how she treats him. Again, 3 days. I have to keep reiterating 3 days because I don't think y'all understand and I don't think they get it. It's been 3 motherfucking days. Like, why are y'all expecting so much? 3 days? 3 days. 3 days. 3. So 1, 2, 3 days. You are in love with this person who you didn't even know a week ago. But now you're in love. And some people do fall in love quickly. I'm not going to take that away from anybody that may be watching the video. However, 3 days, not 3 dates, 3 actual full calendar days of you knowing this person. And I just feel like, again, it's too much too fast. And I think that because everything is so perfect, it keeps using the word perfect. You're perfect. This is perfect. Everything is perfect. My fear is that once there is a little argument or once he does see a little chink in her perfect armor, then he's going to be like, questioning that love. Do I really love her? Am I really in love? Does she really love me? Is she capable of loving me? The problem with people who are overly sensitive, and I used to be someone who was I'm still kind of sensitive, but I used to be a lot like, weepy, very, very sensitive a long time ago. Before I got pregnant, actually, I was a lot more sensitive than I am now. But the problem with people who are very, very sensitive is you are constantly in your head, you are constantly overthinking, and you're constantly questioning people's motives. And obviously when things are great, everything is wonderful, rainbows, unicorns, violins, gumdrops, everything is perfect. As soon as one little thing happens, you question everything you thought you believed. And that's just how sensitive people are. And for Justin, I can clearly see that's what's going to happen. He's going to question everything. He is not going to be in his right mind. And he's going to say some stuff out of his mouth that's going to be real trifling and real ignorant and real disrespectful. So I think that's a red flag for anybody to act the way he is. And he's not even being mean. He's being very nice and sweet and essentially saying all the things a girl would want to hear from her husband. But it's a husband that you've been with for at least a little bit, a husband that you dated before y'all got married, not one you just met. And I know I tell people all the time, not tell people, on the show, normally, actually it hasn't happened this season either, coincidentally, normally the couples when they get married, it takes them a while to say, this is my husband, this is my wife. They normally still saying, she's my wife, but she's still a stranger, like I'm married to a stranger. That hasn't happened this season at all yet, which is actually kind of interesting. But at the end of the day, I won't say she's a stranger. She is your wife. But she's someone you're still getting to know. You guys are doing everything backwards by getting married first and then basically dating each other after you're married. Let this flow. Give it time. Again, wait till you guys merge your lives together when you get home. When you see each other in natural environment, see each other when you come home from work and how you act when you come home from work, how you act when you're around your family and friends, all of that stuff. Maybe once y'all have sex, even see how things are then, because you never know. And I just feel like there are too many unknowns for him to make a declaration like that. And I'm glad that she didn't say it back, because I could tell that she had to process everything first. So I'm glad that she didn't say it and just say it just out of habit or say it because she knew that's what he wanted to hear. I'm glad she was strong to be like, I can't tell you that. There's a lot going on right now, so I'm not going to tell you that I love you, because I just need to process everything. So I'm glad that she did that. I'm very hesitant about him. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. But that was a red flag for me. Not even yellow. I think that was a red flag. Now let's get to Kristen and Mitch. Guys, okay. I will say I really like Kristen. I like her personality a lot. She's very mature. She is not about pushing things under the rug. She is about, addressing things head on, but in a very respectful way, very honest and open way. Mitch clearly suffers from anxiety. I think we can all agree on that. And I don't understand. And I think it's because of his age. Mitch is the oldest one. He's 41 years old. And he said repeatedly that being on this show is his last chance to be married. But I feel like if this is really your last chance to be married, then your mindset should be, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure this marriage is successful, to make sure she doesn't want to leave me, to make sure I don't want to leave her. I'm going to work really hard to make this marriage work. But it's just not, something is off. Something's really off. Pardon me. Something's just off, right? So first of all, they started going on a little adventure. They did stand-up paddleboarding, which looked really fun, really silly. They had a good time, whatever. So afterwards, they're talking, and she's talking about romance. And she's like, if we get to the point of romance and get to the point of sex, it would only happen if we are authentically ourselves. She's like, on my questionnaire, I wanted someone who was passionate about their career. I wanted someone who was honest, and you literally check off every box. I'm really enjoying you, and I just wanted to let you know that I really enjoy being with you and really enjoy talking with you. Again, very open, honest, casual. He's like, oh yeah, great, thank you, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you too, you're just awesome. And they appreciate each other's jokes and all this other stuff. And she did say, not to him but to the camera, that they're moving slower than she'd like. And again, I was like, it's been 3 days, like I don't know what she wanted, but then I found out later on what she was hinting at. It's basically we haven't seen them kiss since they were at the altar. Yeah, since that altar we haven't seen them kiss, haven't really seen them hugged up. When they wake up in the morning, it's not like they're spooning each other, they're not really touching each other, just kind of saying, oh, good morning, oh, how are you, how was your sleep, oh, it's great. It just seems more like a really great date, as opposed to them being married. It doesn't really feel, at least on camera, it doesn't come off that they are married. It comes off like, oh, we're on a date that's going really, really well. That's how it looks. So Mitch calls his brother on his honeymoon. What person calls their sibling on their honeymoon? That's my first question. He calls the brother because he feels bad that he's not feeling a physical spark with Kristen. And he's like, I don't know what to do. In my vows, I said I'd be honest. And the brother made a good point. He was like, in your vows, you said you'd be honest. In your vows, you didn't promise that you'd be attracted to her. He's like, so you're not lying to her or anything. And I don't know, I guess the brother, like, obviously knows Mitch very well. And he could feel that Mitch was being very, that he was putting that pressure on himself and feeling anxious and just feeling almost like he was breaking out of his skin. Like, I don't know what to do. I have to do something. And yes, Mitch is very honest and open, and I understand that. But some things don't need to be said. Like, what good will come of you saying, I am not attracted to you? Especially when you can't really pinpoint what it is you're not attracted to, right? So I thought that was kind of a weird thing. That's like, I have to tell her. Why, though? Why do you think it's necessary to tell her? Because telling her is going to make you feel better because you got it off your chest. But now you just told this chick that you don't think she's cute to her face. How is that helping her? And so that whole thing was weird to me. I didn't understand him being so panicked by the idea, because the brother said, like, she's not unattractive. So it stands to reason that at some point you'll be attracted to her. He was like, you normally have to kind of warm up to a person for a minute, and it's been 3 days. And I'm like, why don't you get that, Mitch? And again, I'm assuming he's putting so much pressure because in his mind, this is my last chance to be married. Okay, I don't agree with that, because you haven't done anything to get married in the first place. So you can't say it's your last chance. It's really your first attempt to getting married, but whatever, neither here nor there. But it's like, why do you, I don't understand. And he was like crying when he got off the phone with his brother. And I was like, I want to feel something, but I don't get it. Why? I'm so confused as to why you're having this reaction to her, because she's not unattractive. She is very cute, but also understand you can't make somebody be attracted to you. I get that part, but why do you think that you have to feel this stuff right now? You are still getting to know her, and you already know that about yourself, that you have to get to know a whole person before the attraction even happens. You already know that. So why I was just so weirded out by his reaction that I couldn't really sympathize with him, because I just didn't get it. I'm like, dude, like, what? It's okay. And then this man had the nerve to say, while he was crying in the courtyard while Kristen was probably upstairs sleeping or whatever, this man had the audacity to say, oh, this is way harder than I thought it would be. You ain't gone through nothing yet, Mitch. You've gone through nothing. You got married to a pretty woman, and then you went to Mexico. What have you gone through? Like, what? And if this is hard for you, and you're acting like this at the idea you're not attracted to your wife, you're having this basic panic attack and crying and fumbling and all this stuff, what the heck are you going to do when you're faced with something real when y'all get back? That doesn't give me confidence that you're going to be able to handle any other kind of jolt or drama or situation that comes up. I don't have confidence that you're going to be able to handle it the way Kristen needs it to be handled, because you're already showing you're going to pieces over not being attracted to this woman. I'm so confused. So that threw me all the way off out of the episode. I was like, what? I just didn't get it. And so at dinner, and I think if she hadn't brought up, maybe he wouldn't have said anything. But at dinner, and I love the way she phrased it. She said, I will be comfortable advancing more in the physical department. Basically, like, let's do it. Not just let's do it. She's like, and she said, just like, I want more than a pinky promise. I want to know that he's interested, holds my hand, kiss me. I guess, basically telling us that he has not made a move in trying to kiss her. He has not attempted to be physical with her at all. And I'm sure for her, she's not even thinking about the sex part. It's like the sex part will come, at some point. But obviously, as a woman or even as a man, you do want to know that the person you're with finds you attractive, right? And you get that from that person holding your hand or gazing in your eyes every once in a while or kissing your hand or kissing you on the mouth. Like just them wanting to touch you because they can't not touch you, right? If that makes sense. And she's not getting that. And so she told him like, hey, I'm open to us, going further. I don't know if you're holding back because you think I'm not ready, but I'm ready. So let's, be comfortable, do what you want. And then he admitted to not being there yet. He said he wishes that he was. And he told her he's not feeling the physical attraction with her, but he finds her attractive. And it's so difficult, obviously, to say that to somebody's face. She appreciated that he was brave enough to say it. And appreciate that they're mature enough to have the conversation about it. And one thing that I loved is that she was very clear that she is not trying to convince him that she's attractive or convince him that she's a catch because she knows that she's both. I was like, you better get it, Kristen. That's right. Without being like egotistical or sassy about it or trying to make him feel about like, boo, I'm a catch. She didn't say any of that stuff. But she let it be known like, it's not my job to convince you of that. And it's not her job because nothing she says is going to necessarily change his mind. But I love the fact that she's secure in who she is. Because a lesser woman, a woman who already has some issues with self-esteem perhaps, would have heard that and would have enveloped that and taken on that opinion of herself. And so I'm so glad that Kristen is in a completely different frame of mind because she was able to hear it and be like, okay, I don't understand it, but, we'll just take this day by day. We're not going to rush. Let's just continue to enjoy each other. It'd be different if we didn't have good conversation. It'd be different if we didn't have fun together. But the fact that we have those things means that other things can be built on later. Those other things can come later. And I was like, Kristen is so mature, way more mature than I am. I don't know necessarily what I would have done. I'm not a person that's going to yell and scream at you, throw a drink in your face, like, oh, I can't believe you said that. I'm not that person. And Kristen definitely was near to, she wasn't bawling, but you could see that her eyes were welling up and she was ready to cry at the idea that, and she said, it's like, this is a worst case scenario. But again, she said a lot calmer than I probably would have. Again, I'm not a yeller, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have continued with dinner. Like, that's for darn sure. Dinner is over. You can have dinner by yourself. I need a moment. Let me just kind of go somewhere. And I probably in my head would have dissected him and tore him down physically. We've never said it out loud, but something that makes us feel better when we do that. But I was proud of her. I thought that she handled it the best way she possibly could. She was open and honest and was just like, and she said something very key too that I agree with 100%. She said that if she poked or prodded him to get details out of him, then she knew she would get her feelings hurt. And I was like, and the thing is, I think as women, I think all of us would have been tempted to ask more questions. Like, well, what exactly don't you find attractive? Like, is it my hair? Is it my face? Is it this? Is that? I think that our curiosity would have led us to kind of do that. But I agree with her completely. Like, doing that would have served no purpose whatsoever. She would have had her feelings hurt. And it could have resulted in her not even wanting to try with the marriage anymore. So I'm glad that she didn't do that. And she said what I just said. She said, we're going to take a day at a time and continue to have fun with each other and just see where it goes. And she's frustrated, but she said another thing that I was like, you better go ahead, sis. She said, I hope he sees in me what I see in myself. I was like, yes, Kristen. I wanted to give her a standing ovation for that. That's right. You know what you're bringing to the table. You know what your worth is. You know that you got it going on. And I'm so glad she knows that she's standing by that. But she's like, I'm not going to convince you of that. We'll see where this goes. And if you see that later on, great. If you don't, I'm still going to be good. I really like her as a person. Really, really like her. And that made me just so happy to see that in her and hear her say that. So now this is where it gets a little tricky. So that same night, They're at the pool, they're having tequila shots, and they're just kind of swimming around, just talking or whatever. And then that's really all we see. Then the next day, all 5 couples go on the boat, and then the girls and the guys separate on the boat, and they're just having conversation. And the girls are talking about, yeah, he did this and he said this, and oh, things are great, and oh, he's been kissing me, and the chemistry is great, and regular girl chat, boy chat, or whatever. So I did say that they were all hugged up and holding hands. No one feels awkward with each other, which is refreshing. We also heard that Stasha changed her last name, or she's planning to change her last name to Barnes, which is Nate's last name, because the current last name she has was her dad's. And she's like, I didn't know her dad, and I don't want his last name. When I sign my name anywhere, it's just so kind of empty. I don't have any kind of connection to that name. So that was interesting too. And Nate also said that he thinks Justin's is too excited. I was like, duh, of course he is. But they just have regular conversation. So all the girls are giving updates. When they get to Kristen, she's like, and Alexis was like, I can feel your energy, Kristen. She's like, so if you don't want to talk about it, it's perfectly fine. We're not going to rush you. Like, it's fine if you don't want to. And she was like, no, I want to talk about it. She was like, I have things to say, but I don't want to ruin the vibe of the day. So when we get to another place where the guys are a little further away and we can just really have our girl chat and really get down and dirty, then I will tell you guys everything. And you will be like, what? I can't believe that. She's like, I will give you guys all the details. And so what I thought happened is that they had those tequila shots, her and Mitch. They're swimming. She's in a bikini. She got big old, beautiful, natural looking breasts. And I'm sure he was like, oh, okay. And so what I thought happened is that they got drunk, or at least he got drunk, and they had drunken sex. That was my prediction. So I was a little wrong, but I wasn't really right. I was wrong. They didn't have sex. But basically what happened was they did the drinking, and because he was trying to show her that he is trying, when they were in bed, I don't think they were asleep, I guess they had just gotten in bed, he bent over to kiss her, to show her, hey, I am trying to make a move, or I'm trying to show you that I am interested in you. So this is his attempt. He attempts to kiss her. He kisses her. And he says, before I knew it, it got a lot hotter and heavier than I thought. And I wasn't expecting it to get that way. And he was looking like, oh, I was excited. He was like, but I was aroused. He was like, that's a good thing. And that comment really made me mad, because he made it seem like, oh, well, she can arouse me. Oh, this is good. This is good news. But then it begs the question, did she only arouse you because you were drunk? And like some people, when they drink, they get angry. Some people, when they drink, they get sleepy. Some people, when they drink, they get horny. So you were obviously under the influence, both of you were. So is it a matter of she herself excited you, or is it because you were drunk and you were horny and she was right there and she was the willing body? So I wouldn't get too excited if I was him, like, oh yeah, she got me aroused. That's a great sign. Like, but you had to get drunk for that to happen. I don't know how I feel about that. And then Kristen, I like that she talked to him about it. She was like, look, I appreciate you trying, but I guess in that moment when they got hot and heavy, I don't know if he said, hey, let's have sex, or he was like trying to, and she pushed him away and said, no, we're not doing this. And again, I really like Kristen. I really, really like her. She was basically, what did she say? She said no to sex because she felt like it was giving her mixed signals. And this is what I put in my notes. He made it seem like he was down for sex, or maybe that's the way she took it, that he's down to have sex with her, whether he's attracted to her or not. That's most men. Like, men don't have to be attracted to women in order to have sex, because they can easily like focus on a woman's body part to be horny, or focus on some other woman entirely to get horny, and then just have sex with whoever's there. So him wanting to have sex with her is like, okay, that's nice, but that's a mixed signal, because again, that's not necessarily saying you're attracted to me. That's just saying that you want to have sex and I'm here. And she said, like, look, one day at a time. I'm going to take this a little bit at a time. Maybe if you have those feelings of, oh, Kristen is really pretty today, or, oh, I really love Kristen's smile or something. She's like, tell me, compliment me. She's like, I want to know, whenever you feel it, I want you to compliment me and just tell me that I look nice. She's like, I want to feel sexy and desirable. Like, I need that. And, one thing she did say, I thought this was interesting too. She's like, but I'm telling you this, at the end of decision day, if I don't have an I love you from you or sex from you, oh, I'm asking for a divorce. And I was like, you know what? I'm not mad at that. I think that is fair. I don't think I'm necessarily putting pressure on him, because you can't, Mitch has always said how honest he is. So I don't see him saying I love you or doing something he doesn't want to do just to prevent the idea of getting a divorce. Even though he wants to be married a lot, he's way too honest and way too like I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do this, like way too kind of stubborn, I guess, to just bow down and do whatever somebody tells him to do. So I don't think that's to be a problem. I thought it was great that she set those boundaries very early on. Mitch, I don't think is a bad guy, but I definitely was not feeling him this episode. Like, I really wasn't. I'm trying to think, were there any guys that I was like, oh, he's still really cool? Nate, I think Nate didn't piss me off this episode. So Nate was actually okay. Justin, I'm not feeling. Mitch, he's yellow flagged for me. I'm not Mitch. Miguel, he's yellow flagged for me. Mitch is, I don't know. And Ben, I haven't really seen Ben's character yet to really decide. So he's still kind of up in the air. But that's my recap and review of Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 5, guys. Let me know below if you have any comments. Like, what did you guys think of the whole Mitch and Kristen thing? Do you think that she was right to kind of, like, chill them out from sex? Do you think he should have opened his mouth at all to tell her he wasn't attracted to her? Like, was that necessary? And what do you guys think of Lindy and Miguel? I think he's pushing sex on her. Do y'all think he's pushing sex on her? Do you think they're going to have sex on their honeymoon? What do you guys think? And what do you think about Justin and Alexis? Tell me what you think about this man saying that he's in love with her and all this other stuff after 3 days, because I still can't get over that. So comment below. You guys know that I'm going to talk back to you because I love talking about the show with you guys. You guys are so freaking smart and introspective, and you have views that I've never even thought of. And I just love the camaraderie that we've developed on this channel. So I hope you guys have an amazing day. I hope that you, again, subscribe, that you click the notification bell, that you like the video, share the video, comment on the video, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.